Hey everyone, this is Gianna Annunzio with Construction Equipment Magazine, and today we are here to talk about equipment shop cleanliness during the COVID-19 pandemic. I will be asking questions about how shop managers are ensuring the health and safety of workers in a COVID and even post-COVID-19 environment. We have an awesome group chatting with us today. I'm really excited about this panel. We have Michael Brennan from CDMB Consultants, Luke Helt from Shaler Brothers, and John Schilling from General Equipment. So I will go ahead and ask each of you to just go ahead and introduce yourselves, give a bit of background on what you do, and then we'll get started with questions.
Oh yeah, Michael Brennan with CDMB Consultants. I was a former fleet manager, and I've retired, and I'm still I'm doing consulting for both public and private governmental fleet operations and private contractors. We've been monitoring this COVID situation, advising our clients some of the things we're going to speak about today.
Great, thank you. Luke, can we go with you next?
Yeah, so my name's Luke Helt. I'm the shop manager here at Trailer Brothers. Trailer Brothers is a heavy civil contractor based out of Evansville, Indiana. We are a mechanic and fabrication shop, primarily servicing our own equipment and building odds and ends fabrication projects for our job sites.
Great, thank you. John, I don't know if you're muted here, but if you would go next, thanks.
Yep. My name is John Schilling. I'm the president and CEO of General Equipment Supplies based out of Fargo, North Dakota. We have 10 locations throughout the U.S. and Canada, kind of the Midwest region. We're a heavy construction equipment dealer as well as an aggregate rock crushing equipment dealership. And we represent numerous lines throughout the Midwest and Central Canada.
Cool, thank you. Thanks guys for introing yourselves. So to start us off, I want to talk a bit about monitoring health within the shop. How are you screening your workers for COVID-19, and what does that process look like for you? And John, while we're still talking, I'd like to start with you actually. And then anyone can feel free to jump in when he's finished, whatever if you have anything to add, I'd like to hear it. So, but John, what does the process look like for you guys?
As far as screening for our employees, really we're not doing a screening as they come into the office or anything like that, checking temperatures. What we have been asking them to do is if they have any symptoms or feel anything coming on, we've asked them not to come into the office. We've asked them if they begin to experience symptoms or feelings of not feeling well in any way, shape, or form during work, to please let your supervisor know and leave. And then, of course, we've been doing numerous things when they are at the office to make sure, in the shops, to make sure that things are cleaned properly.
Right, and I actually was hearing in our previous talk that you had someone come down with COVID-19, but nobody else did once they were sent home, which is awesome. It really goes to show you were, implementing that protocol, the new stuff, so that's great.
Yeah, correct. We did have one person come down with it, and actually we were very nervous because that person was working the entire previous day, was working with one of our newer technicians. They were obviously trying to separate by 6 feet at least, which they did. Mm-hmm. But you never know if he touched something that somebody else touched. And fortunately, he went home that night, didn't experience the symptoms until that evening, and then didn't come back in. Unfortunately, nobody got sick from that. Also, what we did do though at that point in time is the evening that we found out, or the morning that we found out he was sick, we had a cleaning crew come in and spray down. And I don't know what chemicals they used, but they were kind of professional cleaning crew that came in and sprayed down every surface and area within there, and then that basically sat for a couple hours, and then they cleaned it off. So yeah, it worked.
How frequently are you doing that? That's probably not all the time, right? It's probably once every so often if you're having, a service come in and do that.
Yeah, we don't. We only did that the time that we had the actual COVID case in the office. But what we are doing is daily. We have our own cleaning services at every branch. Either it's our guys. We either have a janitor that works for us, and depending on the size of the location, or we have a service. They obviously come in the evening. They do a full clean down of every area, location, and surface. the office every and their level of busyness every 2 to 3 hours. We've assigned people to go through and wipe down surfaces and make sure that everything's covered, as well as when customers are coming into the shop and or parts department, as they come in, get what they need and leave, then we take care of any surface. Just because they're from the outside, we take care of wiping down any surfaces that they may have been in contact as well.
Yeah, I'm sure the more in the shop, the more cleaning you want to do. So great. Well, thank you. Luke, is there anything you guys are doing different? Any screening type stuff?
Yeah. So we starting off in the morning, we have guys reporting through pretty much one door. We're funneling guys into the shop through one door. We're doing a daily health screening survey, which basically consists of 5 questions, being, which one of our sister companies, what location the person is reporting to work at. So for us here, we would be the Trailer Brothers Evansville shop. And kind of the next questions are the going through the list of questions here. It's if they have experienced any symptoms, and if they've done any international travel, or if they've come into contact with anybody that they know that's been exposed to COVID. Also, we do take everybody's temperature. We only have 17 people, including myself, coming to the shop, so it's not terrible. It's definitely manageable. So we'll take everybody's temperature coming in the shop, making sure that, if somebody does have, say, a headache or muscle pain, which is one of the symptoms of COVID-19, that temperature is kind of just a checks and balance to make sure that nobody's, out of whack or anything like that. So we do daily health screening surveys, as well as kind of John was mentioning, we do wipe down all what we call high touch areas or common areas, pre-shift and post-shift. So for us here at the shop, we do have some Kubotas because we have a 10-acre yard that a storage yard that we manage, and we got to check on and kind of run around and look at things. So we do.
I actually have a quick question here. So when you're doing the screening, are you separating people within the shop? Obviously, you can't really keep people super close together, I'm assuming. How does that go about?
Yeah. So as they come in to work, basically we sit at the door. I sit at the door and first take everybody's temperature, make sure that they got a good temperature, and if it is above 100.4 degrees, then that's kind of our line in the sand, and that's when we ask guys to go home and basically get well. But a lot of times it's around the 98, 97 range. And following that, then we'll have our guys fill out the survey and basically continue on, basically enter the shop and throw their box down and do whatever.
Yeah, it's a great way to go about it, especially in these times. I don't know if anyone had anything else to add. Craig or Michael, is there something you guys are doing any differently, or anything you've heard that's different?
Most of our clients are doing the same thing that you've already heard. Checking temperatures and doing those types of things. Some of our clients, we've tried to coach them into training their employees like a peer review. Keep an eye on each other. Like Luke was talking about earlier, aches and pains and mobility issues are a symptom. And all the symptoms, they're not obvious in everyone. So we kind of try to get people, tell your crews to, keep an eye on each other. If you see somebody who's pale or who's really having mobility issues or, stretching all the time, maybe that's an issue where supervision needs to go have a chat and say, hey, ask those questions. How do you feel? Have you been anywhere? What's going on in your household? and who have you been in contact with that possibly has had the disease or is contagious, and then take the appropriate actions.
Along the lines of staying healthy, cleanliness obviously plays a huge part in this with, I'm sure communal tools being used and people in and out of cabs. And so like the CDC recommends disinfecting, obviously, saying COVID-19 can remain on surfaces in the shop and stuff for days or even weeks to hours. How are you going about the disinfection process? Is there anything you're doing in the shop disinfection wise?
We're spraying down high touch areas. I know we've kind of debated on closing our break room, but we do have 17 guys here, and through the months of March and April, kind of the heavier months, we didn't have that many. Some guys that were deemed high risk by their healthcare professionals or their doctors stayed home. So we weren't fully staffed at 17 individuals here. So we were actually less than 10, and we were kind of following CDC guidelines on not gathering in groups larger than 10. We primarily just spray down high touch areas. We're looking at getting a third-party vendor in to, fog or disinfect our shop every week. But we haven't purchased or moved on that yet.
Yeah, I've heard actually of the fogging process. That's sort of newer, I feel like, but interesting. Yeah, that's the first I've heard of it. So very, very cool stuff. Michael, I don't know if there's anything else that you're doing that's different. I know a lot of this stuff is really similar across the board, but just wanted to hear from everybody just in case.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the general rule of thumb is exactly what Craig and Luke have already alluded to. When it comes to disinfecting the shops, our research here and what we've looked at is, there's basically two types of cleaning agents that you need to be concerned with, and you need to have them. One is the sodium hydrochlorite based, which is more bleaches and those types of cleaners. They're used on your hard surfaces, your tables, anything in the shop, those areas. But then, your technicians and your people are getting in and out of vehicles, cabs, this and that, and all that. And you have chairs, soft cloth. So you're also going to need, an ethanol based cleaning solution that isn't going to harm leather surfaces, some of the fabric and those types of surfaces. And then going along with kind of what Luke was saying, we've seen and we've advised that people need to take care of the break areas, and they need to take care of those high touch areas. The CDC recommendations, door handles, doorknobs, all these types of things. But don't forget about commonly used shop tools and tool crib areas. A lot of small parts, shop stock, things of that are kept in a certain area in a certain room, and those areas need to be cleaned as well. Most of our clients have issued rubber gloves and all the PPE that's available, so they're wearing gloves, they've got their masks, they've got all that stuff. But those common areas need to be addressed also. So you got to kind of have your guys in the shop put together a procedure, process, whatever, so that they get in there and do that beginning of shift, end of shift, whatever the case may be, just to address those areas also.
Right. Yeah. Lots of cleaning that goes into all of this. And like you said, the break areas too are, I'm sure, high risk areas. And, you can't just leave it to tools and things like that. It's got to be communal areas as well. Everything has to be accounted for. So great. Thank you guys. So now I'm going to shift from surfaces within the shop to cleanliness when receiving parts and packages from outside the shop, since COVID-19 can also live on these deliverables.
We're definitely limiting access to the shop. We do have a shipping and receiving area where we will basically lock the door. Like Craig said, they lock the front door. We'll lock our shipping and receiving area door and post it on there as kind of just, no salesmen, no outside people. If they do have a package that they're dropping off, my phone number's on there, and they typically just call me and I'll run over there and get the package. We're not doing a staging area. If there is a vendor that needs to come in the shop, we will do a very similar screening process that we do with our employees. that's why my phone numbers, posted on the door. That way we can run over there and screen them. Similar
Mhm.
same process on how we do our employees every morning. So
Yeah. And Michael, is there anything else that you've heard of? Drop-offs, things like that. I know that some people are implementing like specific places that they're dropping packages to lessen the amount of people in the office and we're in the shop area.
Absolutely. Yeah. Craig and Luke have touched on the zero contact delivery pretty well. That's common right now in the industry to limit people in and out of the shop facilities. Luke has also said, yes, on occasion, you're going to have somebody come into the shop. So they actually should go through those screening procedures also before you let them in. One of the things that we've seen some people do is when they set up these delivery areas um, for contactless delivery, we've had 2 clients actually gone out and purchased Connex boxes and simply have the vendors call and say, okay, there's a delivery coming. And they tell them, put it in box A or whatever. But then, on the other side of the coin, the shops have cores and returns and things of that. So they have a second box where it's for cores and returns. And what they've done is to monitor that, they simply put up a video camera inside the box. So when the vendor calls, says we're going to make a delivery, and that door is open to get into that box, that area, whatever the case may be, nobody really has to go there. It's all monitored via video.
Mhm.
So they really totally eliminate that contact in that area. And then the other thing that we've run into here recently is new equipment delivery.
Mhm.
When new equipment is delivered to the yard, um, usually it's come in, it's dropped off, and then you've got a representative come out, they'll do a QC on it, and then you get training on that. Well, some of the people now and how they're doing that is that training is videoed so that they can still get the training to show to the operators before the machine goes into use. However, they don't have that contact with the trainer or the outside. So that's some other things people are doing when you talk about deliveries and that zero contact.
Great. Obviously, there are a ton of moving parts here when it comes to, keeping everything safe, keeping everything clean. So another thing I was wondering is, and Michael, I actually want to hear from you again first on this one. How are you ensuring your people are complying with your COVID-19 processes? Is there anything in place to make sure this is happening?
Well, I think at this point, given the gravity of the situation, most everybody is following the rules. They're keeping the social distancing. They're using the PPE. The rules are out there, and it's kind of developed this in a very short period because nobody really saw this coming a year or so ago, or there'd be extensive processes in there.
Right.
So I don't see compliance in the short term here being the issue. What I really think is this isn't going to be over anytime soon. And what you're going to start to see is complacency, especially as the country begins to open up and expand back into the economy again.
Mhm.
You're going to start seeing some complacency pockets, and those will have to be addressed. They'll have to be addressed policy procedure wise, and then you have to have enforcement, supervision, whatever that case may be. And each company is going to be a little different. Like Craig alluded to, you have remote areas. Well, that's very difficult, to ensure compliance in a remote area. So they're going to have a unique way of doing that, and they'll come up with that. Companies will come up with that. But I think that more longer range compliance is where companies should focus right now. For the extended period or for policy change, I think we're a little early on that yet because we have to see how this thing plays out. I think there's too many changes coming down the road yet for an organization to really go in and nail down a solid policy, to move well into the future with. I think we're a little too early on that. So they need to keep it immediate, and in that short term, 6 months, somewhere around there is where they need to concentrate compliance on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure it's different, based on every shop, based on every state's regulations. So it really, like you were saying, you can't really pinpoint one thing that everyone's doing. It's a little, I mean, certain things, but different things work for other people that don't work for others, I'm sure. So, well, great. Thank you. Luke, is there anything that you guys have in place?
Michael really hit the nail on the head. Since this is so new and it's so unforeseen, everybody out there is really cooperating. Nobody's, kind of not cooperating. Everybody's taking part. They're practicing good hygiene. That's the one thing that we keep harping on here. But everybody's cooperating. We at our shop felt that mask while at work, because we are in a fabrication setting, would be kind of a hindrance and more of a safety issue rather than not wearing a mask. So we're not promoting wearing masks while at work. However, we have provided masks for our guys. That way, whenever they go to the grocery store or if they're running errands, they can wear that PPE out in public. So that's kind of the big thing, or what I wanted to add to the conversation here. But no, Michael really hit the nail on the head.
So actually, quickly, you mentioned that you're not really, super enforcing masks because it could be a hindrance. If you're not doing that, are you doing something else in its place? Like, is social distancing something that you're kind of sticking to then? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's, since we wear safety glasses in the shop, wearing a mask can easily fog up safety glasses.
Right. Even
So
regular glasses. So,
exactly.
yeah.
So in lieu of wearing a mask,